So we'll see.
Another player that is being disrespected in drafts, Jonathan Taylor. His ADP right now, sitting at RB9.
Mm.
And I mean, I look at this. McCaffrey's number was at 999 and 6.5 touchdowns. We got JT right here at almost 1,200 yards and 9.5 touchdowns, and he's going as a back end RB1. I'm gonna be scooping a lot of Jonathan Taylor in the second round, put it this way. But like JT, over the last 3 games of the season last year, he had over 500 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns in 3 games. I'm like, imagine if he could just stay healthy. That ankle's been bothering him a lot in his career, but like, imagine if this dude could stay healthy. I really love the rushing total. I probably would stay away from the touchdowns. Really, really, really like the rush yards here.
No, I think the way he finished last year, it definitely shows just who he truly is. He came back hungry. I think he left to the offseason hungry. Is going to come back even stronger. I see him having a big year as well. I think that he's somebody I definitely am looking to get, second, third round, where guys aren't really thinking, they get that top guy. They don't realize, that's where I'm coming in for my third top guy.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
I'm coming in for my third guy. I'm gonna take a couple early, but then when everybody shifted to the receivers early, I think he's gonna be right there in there for the fantasy guys. But I see him smashing us in yards. I think
That's a
they're gonna be the
back end
quarterback
second round.
situation. Yeah, I think their quarterback situation improves, and I see him having a big year.
Like, he's being pushed right now to the back end of the second round, top of the third round, right, in fantasy drafts. But for this number, does the quarterback matter? Because we saw like earlier on in the year, A-Rich obviously like helps some of that out, but he takes away a little bit in the red zone. But if Daniel Jones is the starter now, and this is, obviously Anthony Richardson dealing with a little bit of an injury right now during the summer. There's tested. Who knows if he's going to be available to start the year, or if that's something that's going to be bothering him heading into the year. But Daniel Jones, I mean, came off the ACL, didn't look the part last year. Now has the potential to even be the starter here, and we know he's got legs as well. Does that change your analysis on this? Like, would that change if Jonathan Taylor is going to hit this number or not? Whether it's Anthony Richardson at quarterback or Daniel Jones at quarterback?
No, I don't think so. I think that it's either he has a really good year or an even better year. I think that I have a good year regardless of who the quarterbacks are. But I do, the thing is, depending on the quarterback, it definitely changes how teams attack them and approach them. But I see him balling out no matter who's there. If he has a running quarterback, I see that only helping him. If he has a passing quarterback, I see that helping him in different ways. So it's like, he's going to benefit from, just I think the hunger he went into the offseason with of, that feeling of, and with all these guys seeing this as well, when you see so many guys getting drafted, because whether we want to believe it or not, man, guys are watching.
Yep.
They see the rankings.
Yep.
They feel the disrespect. They, what I mean? They're not, they're ego-driven guys, right? So
quick story on that. I dropped
okay.
a TikTok, and it was about It was about Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell, and I was like, oh, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, they're the clear like number 1 and 2. Tank Dell is way down here, right? And I'm sitting there just going on and on about how Tank Dell is not even like, he ain't a factor. And Diggs and Nico, hey, I go into my notifications, I see the verified sign, Tank Dell, save your shit to favorites. I was like, oh shit, he using this as motivation, bro.
Motivation, bro. He way down here. And that's the thing. It's like, it was funny because I was telling my wife, I was like, man, I need to do that in my everyday life. I need to take, there's something to say about taking things personal.
Yeah.
Right. And letting some kind of fire, because that helped me get to college. That helped me. I remember getting all league, second team. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, that was on my wall. You know what I mean? I'm like, second team? Like, I was hot,
Yeah.
And so like, there is certain things, like even when we played, I coached at SMU, we played against Fresno State, my alma mater, right? In the Hawaii Bowl, right? Another Hawaii memory, right? But I printed out all the things. So Fresno State was pissed that they had to play SMU, right? Because we were 6-6 and they were like 10-2. They had Carr, Devontae Adams.
Yep.
They had lost a couple big games, but they were mad they had to go play SMU because they were like, yo, we were supposed to be playing SC and the Western Wayne Bowl, but then Boise got the bid, right? So they kind of
wanted that. They wanted a bigger game.
They wanted the bigger game, and so their fans were like, yo, SMU is terrible. We don't want to play them. Like, and so I printed out the top 10. Like, I went on the bark board and I printed out the top 10 comments, and we read them to the team every day.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? And so, in a bowl game, you don't play somebody for 4 weeks, right?
Yep.
So, like,
you got plenty of time.
Hearing this for 4 weeks that, like, yo, y'all not even good enough. Like, you're not even. And the thing is, we were a really good 6-6 team, right? Like, we lost to a good.
Y'all were a really good mediocre team.
But here's the thing, right? When you in football, right? It's like those teams that are losing games by 3 points, and you're like, yo, they might be one piece away.
Yeah.
Like, they're not really. They 6-6, but if they get the right thing turning,
right,
those one of those teams that can get to the playoffs and get hot, one of those wild card. That's kind of what I saw us as. Like, we have players, but we lost a tough one to Baylor and to TCU in overtime. And, Johnny Manziel, that was his breakout year.
Oh, yeah, he was cooking him and Mike, right? Him and Mike Evans.
Him and Mike Evans. Bro, I didn't know who Mike Evans was. I was like, he was so disrespectful to our defense. I didn't know who he was. I'm like, yo, y'all let that wide receiver. I'm like, I didn't know, right? So I'm like, I'm just thinking, I'm like, you let this skinny receiver just like slap y'all around? I'm clowning the DBs. And here's the thing, we had a spy for Johnny Manziel. And at the time, nobody really knew who Johnny Manziel was. Yeah. This was his breakout.
You guys played him early. Y'all played him early in the year?
This was second game of the season. And so we had only watched him against Florida State. Right. And Florida State had like 9 NFL guys on their defense that year.
Right.
Like, and so they were super fast. So we couldn't see how fast he was because Florida State was so fast. And we had a spy for him. And he was just eating up his angles and just like disrespecting him. I'm just like, bruh. After the game, I'm like, yo, we should have picked a different spy.
A little too late.
Like, Coach, I was like, and then we laughed together, but I was like, here's the thing. I've never seen a quarterback run like that in person. In person with my own eyes, Johnny Manziel in college was the best quarterback I've ever seen.
That's crazy, bro. It's crazy how like the speed or whatever, it translates differently. You know what I'm saying?
It translates differently, and I think I think even he got to the NFL maybe 5 to 10 years too early.
Yeah, because his style. Well, and you saw the thing with him. It was all the extras. The shit he was
all the extras, and they weren't even really messing with him with the Browns, like the coaches. If the coaches are not messing with you, that controls your whole livelihood.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If the coaches, they're definitely gonna call the games and do whatever they can to get you up out of there. And if you're not on your game to get back, then you're not getting back.
No, that's a good point. I know we kind of like bouncing all over, but there's actually in the NFL a player like that right now. He just showed up to OTAs. James Cook. He wants to get paid, and he was kind of like, you could tell this offseason they weren't sure if he was going to make it, but I feel like the coaching staff might do the same thing to him. Last year, they let him, all them touchdowns that Josh Allen was having. You can have those. This year might be a little different because he came in asking for the bag. So now it's proved myself. It's James Cook. I want a contract. Do you deserve it? And this total right here, just under 1,000 yards, just under 10 touchdowns. I feel like the under on this touchdowns might be a gift.
Yeah, I think the under for sure is going to be a gift. If they don't want to pay him, so you get in these situations, you realize this is a business. Right, they're gonna get in within 10. They're gonna, hey, let's throw this thing in there.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And this is a lot of times this is above the coaching staff. Some of these decisions, they're like, yo, throw it in. You better
Is
figure
it
out a
really? Because
way.
they say that it's above the coaching staff, but is it really like does the money matter that much for these guys, or you think it's
It's above.
overstated?
It's above the coaching staff. The money matters that much. Winning ultimately matters the most, but they're like, yo, you better win by throwing it in. Or, if he busts a long one, he busts a long one. But they're gonna do what they can to not have to pay him his worth. That's just that's just how it is. And then sometimes it doesn't give above the coaching staff. It might be the coach that doesn't like you, right? That like wants what? I like this backup. Really, this backup. He's been working
Ray
his butt off.
Davis.
He's the next guy in line, right? And so I might, make him look a little better by giving some of them goal line touches. And then when he has 5 touchdowns after a few games, everybody looking like,
Well, that's kind of what happened even last year. Like James Cook he was getting in the red zone pretty much once a week, it felt like. But they started using Ray Davis a little bit more, Ty Johnson. It was like we saw some of these other nobodies coming out of nowhere, and Ray Davis really kind of looked the part. I know he had 1 week where it was like a blow-up week. And I don't know, I just feel like the more we know, like Josh Allen is the core of this thing. The defense is what they like to anchor it on. James Cook had a great season last year. He had 16 touchdowns, but can he replicate that again, over 10 again for a guy that was like a 2 to 3 touchdown scorer a year? I don't know, bro. I got my doubts about that touchdown total. The yardage, man, I would stay away from the yardage.
Yeah. No,
he finished.
I think
he finished as the RB8 last year. And this year he's going as the RB14. In fantasy, you think that's a value or you think it's a stay away? Because
I think that's value. I think that's value. If you can get him 14, 15 as like your fourth back, you know what I mean? Like that's value because then you got to plug and play. You got a guy get banged up. You got a guy that's going to get some touches. I think that's super valuable. I'm taking him as
He'll probably be somebody's second, maybe third back. Second, maybe third, depending on who you're drafting with.
Right, who you're drafting with. But, I mean, even second or third, definitely a third, I think he's valued. Moving into 2, I don't know if he's dependable enough week in and week out, with the different weapons they have over there. I don't know.
So, James Cook right now, he's going right after, like, Kyron Williams, Chase Brown, Breece Hall, right over Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon.
See, I'm taking those next 3 before him.
Yeah, me too.
I'm taking the next 3. I'm taking the next 3 before him.
I don't really like this James Cook number, bro. He just cracked 1,000 last year.
Yeah.
He had 1,009 yards last year. I don't know. I kind of like the unders on both James Cook numbers, dog, because I feel like this Bills team is going to be like,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I definitely see him, on the downward